Hey guys, how's it going? What did happen to the music? You're right. Let's see if I can fix that. Well, what did you do then? Hey, at least you guys can hear me. Hey Connor, hey, go for it. Hey Zealot. Should be back now. Should be quiet, but it should be back. Anyway. There we go. Still waking up. Awesome. Just a bit cockeyed, but we'll get it. Well, good enough. Okay. It's the important stuff. Well, that's good. Playing games, that'll help too. But it is good to see you. We need a new folder here. So that I can pull this in. Okay. So I've been working on a one-shot, writing out sort of all of the pieces necessary to actually do a play test. And I have everything, I think, fairly well organized here. Oop, didn't mean to, I meant to grab that. That's awesome, Zealot. What kind of stuff have you been playing? I'm supposed to play a game tonight, and I haven't decided yet what to play. Thinking about a couple different options. Okay, definitely don't need all of this. What are they? Curious and unexplained. Binge playing Left 4 Dead 2. Nice. I remember that game. Cool. Yeah, I'm torn between a couple of options tonight. I was thinking about... So I played a long time ago, I played Limbo, but I never played Inside. I was looking at the time to complete, and I'm like, I bet I could burn through both of those in a night, and that would be really interesting to see those two games back to back. I'd like to revisit Limbo anyway. This would be a much longer game. Whoa, monsters go down. But Tunic is also on my list. I've just got a handful of games that I'm... Tonight's Helldivers. Cool. Hey, Sector, how's it going? That's exactly what it is, Zealot. I know, I'm old, right? I get it. Pruning a bunch of stuff here. Skinny legs, I've never looked at that. Less than 60 days? Nice. Yeah, you're getting up there. Yeah, it is annoying sometimes. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I read past all of it. But I can understand that it would be annoying. Scanning Legs is really good. You play as this robot made by a greater being. Huh. Yeah, that sounds neat. Maybe I should add it to my list. Hey, Matisse, how's it going? Let's see, I think I caught you at the beginning of your day earlier. Now here we are probably at the end of your day. Can't complain. Oh, just working on the one shot. Was looking at the outline, kind of changing it a little bit. You know, figuring out what best fits where. Starting to clean up some of this early kind of scrap writing that I don't need anymore, paring it down. Sure, I can tell you about the outline. So basically, like if you remember back to some of the stuff that I laid out over the summer, it follows some of the same, I think, some of the same sort of ideals, I guess, where apart from sort of a basic description at the beginning, it really kicks off the whole document. Starts with, you know, during this one shot or during, yeah, I guess it's a one shot. Maybe it's just during this adventure. I'm a big fan of your player's will. I'm a big fan of basically breaking down what's going to happen in this adventure from the get-go, and I've revised this a couple of times. I'll probably do it again today, because I think the more potent and to the point it gets, the better. And then we go into about the adventure. So this is more like, right now I'm thinking of separating this from prepping, because I feel like it's helpful to have sort of, well, maybe not about the adventure, but this is what I was changing when you got here, trying to think through, you know, a place for kind of the lore, like the adventure lore, kind of the story synopsis and the characters' background information. Yeah, exactly, Matisse. That's totally what the your player's will section is answering, because that's the first question on everybody's mind, I think. And then prepping the adventure, running the adventure, and then after the adventure. And I'm sort of following conventions a little bit for, like, stat blocks go at the end. I think handouts, pre-made characters, anything that, like, resource materials kind of go at the end, reference materials go at the end. I think that makes sense. But what I'm unsure about, so I'm not sure that I think it's all one section. I'm not sure that there's any useful, but what I think I may add is like the running the adventure, I can basically do away with prep. I can any sort of prepping stuff, because what I hate the idea of is like, oh my god, to prep this adventure I have to do how much? Because really you don't have to do that much, or at least ideally I would like you to not have to. Which, you know, part of that will come down to playtesting and working on this stuff for probably years. But I mean, not this one, but the general game design flow of it. But having the about information, and then running like just like some sort of simple checklist, that things to consider before running the adventure. You'd like a list of the most significant milestones. Yeah, and a little bit of that, I think, as these get fleshed out beyond intro, part 1, part 2, part 3, outro, like that's how I think about them. But once they take on, like, you know, it'll probably be like, you know, part 1, what could it be? You know, a curious combat. Maybe that's it. Part 2 is searching for. I did try on your suggestion, the family name, the Wayfarers, and it didn't work for me. I'm sorry, but I gave it a legitimate shot. I just couldn't get there. I like it, but not for this one. Yeah, I think that certainly a you know, half page to 1 page visual of this running the adventure section is probably the best way to do it. Like right at the beginning, where it's like, okay, you're ready to run it. And what I'd ideally like, I'd like it to read. I'd like this stuff to read as both the adventure itself as well as guidance for running the adventure. So that, like, if there's something then that, like, you know, hey, for this bit, like an actual direction to like a specific page in a specific section that has more information, if it's contained within the about or whatever, like I'd like it to be sort of like adventure and companion at the same time, is sort of what I'm imagining, but that'll take some work. And then the adding hooks into the adventure, because I think having multiple ways in makes sense. Right now, I really only have the one, but I think there's probably a way to have others. Yeah. I'm not a fan of fully written like yellow box text. Not a fan of that. Which is kind of its own. We'll see if I'm proven right or wrong for that sort of idea. But I think there's a whole bunch of other stuff that can help. I think that yellow box text is solving some problems that I hope to tackle in different ways. Yeah. Kind of the way that I did it in the previous dungeon stuff, where it's like a yep. I think we're thinking of the same thing. One shot story. Okay, I did write some stuff here. Let me pull this out. Go for it, Zealot. believe me, sometimes I feel like all we have are all I have are scraps of time. I got to make use of what I have. If I looked for only like the perfect, amazing 6-hour blocks of time, I'd rarely be able to get anything like this stuff done. Like, it's funny because as much as like this time is streaming time, this is also like working on this project time for me. They're really one and the same. So it sort of maps very evenly to when I have, you know, free and spare, can carve out time to dig into this stuff. It's tricky. Right. I know that feeling. Definitely. Okay. So yeah, I've got the before. So when I think, okay, so before you run this adventure, first a summary of what the adventure includes. Basically, you know, intro, part 1, 2, part 3, outro. Video games, that makes sense. At least, I mean, at least you have some room for something. Okay, all right, that's enough bumbling around here, I think. I think I also have, not really, well, kind of. Yeah. Let's go ahead and bring that in too. That's all I was trying to do. Come on. Okay. So one fun thing, the curious and unexplained creatures. I don't know what I was trying to say there. Okay, it's gone. So the party will find a number of creatures loose in the cabin, loose in the cottage when they first arrive. It appears there was a scuffle of some sort. Each of the creatures below has a detailed stat block. Whatever. I hate all. I don't care about all this stuff. Okay, so yesterday designed a feral echo. So these are just concept creatures. These aren't stat blocks yet. And I think the reason that all of this text is junk is because I stopped working on it because I think that I'm not sure yet if this section will stay here or if all of this becomes stat block territory. So first, feral echo. Sitting on a shelf inside of a sealed glass jar, a feral echo looks like a storm in a bottle. How about at first? At first, a feral echo looks like a storm in a bottle. Let's bold it. But instead of lightning and thunder, the swirling spectral form flashes sporadically from one one vicious image to another. Teeth, tail, eyes, claws, fur, ears. AKA Pokeball. Yeah, sort of. If the Pokeball holds a Ghastly or something, right? If let out of its bottle, the swirling spectral form will fill the space and lash out like an angry spirit of the forest. Is it a spirit? Or a ghost? No one is quite sure yet. But if you're very careful at just the moment when a druid drops their wild shape, or perhaps when a conjured animal is released and disappears, you might be lucky enough to capture this untethered spirit in a bottle for yourself. It's a Pokemon. Love that meme. It's great. Like I said, this is creature lore. This isn't creature stats. Definitely, yeah, it's definitely up there, especially for length. It's a short clip. All right. I think I'm gonna skip talking flying fish creature for the moment. Focus on sleepy docile effect creature. So this one was this curious creature was collected somewhere in the nearby forest. The jar it was contained in has a label. So nearby forest is based on the map that I still need to create. Is really only like a couple days away from whatever location the cottage is in. And all this stuff is vague. I need to have something about that, actually. So they collected it with the container, like Iron Flask. What's Iron Flask? But yeah, it can be bottled. It can be contained. It's a real. It's like capturing a fog or something like that. It may not even be a special bottle, really, because there would need to be another one available to capture it in. Oh, that's a magic item. Gotcha. No, I think that the idea of these creatures is that whoever this couple are have legitimately found very exotic things that probably haven't been fully studied yet. Okay. So a sleepy / docile effect creature. So this creature, whatever it is, was found somewhere in the wetlands. Oh, the wetlands. Okay. Yeah, whatever the container is, they'd have spares. Like it'd probably literally be on a on a shelf labeled sparrow. I was gonna say spare bottles, but spare feral bottles. So I think like the goal would be something that can slow or maybe sleepy docile. Maybe it is some sort of a slow effect. I've always thought that it was kind of weird that, like, I mean, I guess it's cool for wizards, but really until you get either a wizard in your party at like a crazy high level or you're fighting a lich, like time stoppage and like time slowing stuff is, you don't even really get a hint of it. Slow, I guess, is like the closest, but it doesn't feel the same. It feels like, and part of it is because I want this creature just being around this creature, like when it's free. Maybe it's when it's looked at. Now I'm thinking of what is it? What are they called? Is it the Weeping Angels? Is that a Doctor Who thing? I think. Yeah, slow effect, sluggish effect. I think they're the Weeping Angels. Isn't that where that's from? The Weeping Angels, fictional race of alien monsters. Yeah. Because the Weeping Angels only affect or only move when you're not looking, which could be kind of part of this creature, but maybe it's like I wonder if there's a sluggish effect, like moving through water within air. That could be good. My mind was just going to a place where, like, what if if you were looking at it, oh, this would be cool. Okay, so looking at the creature, you're slowed. So what is that going to make a player want to do? Look away. Looking away from the creature, it moves / like it jumps. Come back. Music. Well, I like the idea that part of the difficulty of even catching this type of creature is that the only way to engage with it forces you to be so slow, and maybe it does it even move? I wonder if it even moves. Because if you think about it, if something like this came from the wetlands, if its defense mechanism is to basically, like, it's almost like it's dormant, like it's sucking up, it's like a bullfrog or something, like it's drinking in your speed so you don't have it, but you're potentially sinking into the water or other creatures. Now you're like easy target, so it becomes this really dangerous creature, but then when you're looking away from it, it is able to use your speed to move very quickly. It sits, teleports, it sits. I feel like it would... Oh, did you lose my sound? No, is the sound gone? According to OBS, of music and sound... Okay, so it may have just been... Yeah. Hypnotoad. I like the idea of it. I think that the gimmick is not... is it enough that it hides? Because, like, that would be its thing, but like but it's also like this isn't even harming anybody. Like, it's not even doing anything, which is fine. It doesn't have to. It could just be a annoying thing. Maybe it doesn't need to hide. Maybe it just changes locations. And maybe it's not a toad. There's lots of creatures in the wetlands. The wetlands, as though that's like a location. Likes hiding in clock towers. Maybe. It's for inspiration. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different things it could be. I mean, basically anything. Like, it's just like a thriving place for wildlife. Okay, so I mean, so we have a couple things going for us, right? Ooh, an owl. An owl would be cool. An owl is a cool vibe, but I don't like it being able to fly. That's too, that's too OP for this type of creature. But what if it was, AOE, everything is slightly slowed. Like, that would be cool anyway, right? Because then as things erupt into chaos in this first fight, everything's at sort of like half pace. It's like, okay, what's doing that? Like, what's causing that to happen? Looking at the creature, you're stuck. That's too strong. It can't be that. Maybe there are degrees of being slowed. Yeah, it could be radius. I mean, maybe it's worth dropping it for like the overall effect, but it feels like actually it's just like a spell. It's just like a spell. So, and obviously I'm getting into probably too far with mechanics, but it is useful. Like we can use it later. There's some sort of impact to everything. Maybe it's just so it's not fun to be slowed down, but there's also nothing that says we can't artificially extend rounds, right? So like it's just a flavor thing. Like everything's impacted while this creature is free, which means that everything, it's basically like floating. Like if you drop something, it takes twice as long to land. Everybody's things, like the words that you say are like woo, or like rippling out. Like the whole place, it's like fighting in space. Aluard? Let me look it up. Okay, so AoE, no one is actually slowed, but the room, this one would be hard to communicate. This is a sorry, let me get this junk out of the way. That'll help. It's just flavor. Looking at the creature. Let me pull one up if I can. Can I search in another language? I bet I'd still show it. Oh, a sloth. Yeah, definitely a sloth-like creature. Something like that. We call them sloths, but it's the same thing. That's funny. Could be like a snake. That'd be kind of a cool. This could be kind of a cool effect for for something that's kind of snake-like. Looking at the creature, I think, is a save against being slowed. But then looking away from the creature, it what's up, the captain? Welcome to the stream. We're cooking up crazy, curious creatures at the moment. So it uses its rattle to slow. Ooh. Or something kind of like that. It's certainly animalistic, but is it purely like animal, or how fantastical is it, or what is it really like? It could be a sound. Hey, what's up, Pipple? Hope you're doing well. Now I'm just looking at animals in wetlands for ideas. A snake is a cool vibe, although calling it a snake, I mean, it could be. Oh, actually, yeah, and using the sound. I'll come back to the sound. I don't want to forget it. Captain, we are making... So ultimately, I'm making a one-shot. A one-shot and a drop-in adventure that is about finding, ultimately, a missing family that will have the party searching through this cottage full of curious creatures. Basically, they're kind of like magic zoologist family that have found some strange things, and some of this work has led to them disappearing, and the party's going to figure out how. So right now, A lot of this is coming together, but the piece that I'm still missing and working through are some of these crazy, not crazy, they're just curious, odd, and kind of unexplained creatures. And what I like about, because part of what helps so much with selling the vibe of this location, they're not wizards, they're not magical, they're necessarily, they're just extremely patient and extremely knowledgeable about these really fringe creatures. And so, like, what's really neat about the feral echo is that it's some sort of wild beast that's contained by like a bottle with a cork, right? It's sitting there and it looks like a storm in a bottle. That's neat. What I like about the idea of this this sort of creature that kind of makes everything slow, the idea of it being a snake and it being a rattle, like the rattle on the snake being the cause, means that its containment is it's a soundproofed container. Its containment could also be everybody just like plugging their ears or wearing like earplugs. That effectively removes its ability to affect everyone. And that's a cool containment style. I cast plug my ears. Well, yeah, I mean, you can do that with your hands, right? Then you just can't use them for attacking or anything. I don't know we're gonna call it something. We'll figure out a name. Names are hard. Yeah, cast silence, exactly. Ooh, love that idea, Captain. Yeah. I mean, part of the, the idea is that these creatures are things that like nobody's really even understood before. Like almost every one of them would probably give a hint towards some sort of magic item or consumable that could be created. Like, what if we could find more of them? How do we find more of them? So at a glance, this creature looks like nothing more than a very fast snake. But careful observers may notice the snake is not only fast, but every creature around it is slowed to a stop. When this snake So now if it's going to be something heard, maybe is there... Yeah, I kind of like the idea. Okay. What's interesting about the creature is that the sound doesn't, the effect of the impact. Okay, let me get rid of my sidebar here. In fact, anyone who can hear the rattle features rattle is Sigosap. Hey Connor, how's it going? You may have been lurking this whole time. I think you were here at the beginning, but I don't remember precisely. It could be merging that with other streams. I'm sorry. Captain, how do people go about storing or creating worlds quickly? It's a good question. So if you're talking about from like a dungeon master, from a, sorry, coffee. From the perspective of a dungeon master, or like the game at the table, at a certain level, we're all imagining a different world every time we play, right? I mean, I can do my best to describe the world, but technically there's a version of it in everybody's head that's a little bit different. And I think that that's better than trying to get everybody on the same page. All that really matters, like Matisse is saying in the chat, all that matters is what the session that you're about to play is going to be. I think that a world is a huge task to try to take on. I don't even have a complete world. I've been running multiple games for 5 or 6 years. My world is incomplete. You know, I just add on to it different land masses when I need a new location for a game. There's nothing wrong with building a world, but it's not actually really necessary. What you need is some location, some place that could be as small as like this one shot takes place entirely inside of a cottage. Our world in this case is the main floor, the loft, and the hidden cellar that's nearly inaccessible below the ground, right? We've got like a basic starting location, we've got some cool stuff to explore, and then there's like something mysterious down below. Like that, to me, encapsulates like what people imagine out of a world, and you can expand that and make it larger. It could be a town, or it could be a mountain range, it could be a cave system. But I think smaller is a lot easier to manage and keeps everything a lot more like interesting, I guess, to a sense, because you're not having to fill and populate such a huge place. Oh, you're in the right place then, Captain. The Essentials Kit is what I started with, and the Player's Handbook, and watching some. Obviously, you probably have like a favorite DM. Create a world, name your world, and then kind of forget about it, and then focus on a small piece of it, knowing that over time as you play, you can flesh out the rest of it. I have, let's see, can I easily pull it up? But like my map, first of all, my map is incomplete that I use for all my games, but also there are so many locations that I've put on the map that I have a vague idea of something. My inspiration for running D&D is adventure stories, Twilight Zone, choose your own adventure stuff, Goosebumps. Like, this is what I grew up with. So I think of a location as kind of like a gimmick or some kind of interesting thing to encounter or experience in a town. Like, you know, do I have a port city? Yes. But it's also got this like problem with ships at sea disappearing or coming back with people and they don't act like themselves, you know, something like that. Like, that makes it a more interesting location. My entire world is filled with locations like that I've never actually fully, like, I may have a vague idea that I never even wrote down. But once my party says we want to go to that location on the map, okay, now I can prep for it, right? The key is just to know exactly what your session is going to be framed around in the immediate, like in your next game. And then really the only concession I ask for from my players is that at the end of a session, they tell me what they want to do the next session so that I can make sure I, you know, can prep for it. So if they're going to venture out of town into the next place, like, that's a decision that's made at the end of the session, not midway, right? And that's just because, you know, there are things that I'll improv. I don't necessarily want to improv an entire region or a city or a town or whatever. Oh, that's great, Captain. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an open secret, but like, being the dungeon master is kind of the most fun you can have. But that's just me talking. it's fun to play. I've played a few times with a character and stuff, and that's cool too. But nothing beats being a dungeon master for me. Yeah, I would recommend obviously Matt Colville videos. I watched probably about 50 or 60 episodes of the first season of Critical Role before I ran anything, and then I felt like maybe it wasn't that much, but I stuck with it. That's how long I stuck with campaign 1, but I was out of it sooner than that and running. Like I was probably 10 or 20 episodes. I was like, okay, I get it. Well, I hope you get a chance to. I hope you get a chance to be a player as well. There's also the I don't have the link handy. I should add it because I reference it a bunch. But there's a especially if you run solo sessions, really solo DM resources would be a good list to make. But Stephen Colbert and Matt Mercer's one shot that they did together for Red Nose Day on YouTube. It's only like an hour. It's excellent. Well, being the DM is being a player too. It's just the best way to play. That's all. But Matisse, is that your pitch for a name? A slagler? I do like it. Yeah. Snadler. I like I like yeah, we'll try. Let's sit on that one for a while. Let's see if that. Man, I'm gonna have such weird autocorrects on my computer. Yeah, Zealot, there's okay. So this is actually important. This is worth. I do think that being a dungeon master is the most fun. Maybe it's just the most fun I can have at the table. Maybe it's just because I always wanted to be a magician growing up, and this feels very much like that, right? You know all the tricks, and you can work a crowd and help generate cool moments, even if it's all built on nothing sometimes, usually. So I think it's the most fun. However, there is a bit of a curse to being a dungeon master. And it has to be something like what you're describing, Zealot. It's a little bit like going to another magician's performance. It doesn't mean that we can't choose to suspend our disbelief, but we cannot. I think it's really hard to fully turn off that part of our brain that is aware of where the smoke and the mirrors and the wires and how it all comes together. Like, especially when you've done it a bunch, like you can try to shut it off, but I think at a certain point, you're a player with like. It's like, yes, I'm a player, but also I've got my DM brain as my co-pilot, or is like in the passenger seat. It's always sitting there like, I know, but I'm going to ignore that, or I'm going to forget about that. It does change the experience being a player. In the best of ways, right? That change is just because you can identify certain things and go like, I can help. I know from what I would call like a positive metagaming perspective, my character can help lean into this and make it even better. And that's like a cool assist from, it's like having a secret It's like having somebody in the audience that's your, you know, you like lock eyes and they're going to help make the trick even better. That's cool. And then on you know, kind of the bummer side, it's like, I've made this mistake. You know, it's like you're watching the magician and they go to pull the rabbit and you can see the rabbit dangling out of their cloak or something, or they, oh, that wasn't my card, but do I say it wasn't my card? Like, I know why. I can see the fumble. Like, again, when you can see mistakes that you've made played back at you, that is a bummer. But, you know, I think the way to the way to work around that is just to sort of accept and go like, yeah, this is the curse of being a DM. This is kind of what happens. And you just do your best, I think, to look past it all and find the fun in it. The nice part is that there's so much when you do get to just focus on being a player and not running the game for everybody else. You can put all of that energy that you normally put into thinking about everybody into just thinking about like a character, and you should think about everybody else too, but like, how do I generate more fun for the table from this kind of simple corner, right? I can't create NPCs. I only have this little kit in front of me. What can I do? Luckily, there's a lot of fun I think you can make from that, but yeah, sometimes you do kind of have to like ignore the fact that like, oh, you actually did just saw somebody in half. That was brutal. That, you know, that's supposed to be a trick, right? That can be tough sometimes. Have I mixed my metaphors well enough? I think. Zella, you were an assassin and requested to make your own grappling hook, only to find out later it was supposed to be in your kit. Ah. Yep. No, that's totally fine. I mean, honestly, everybody's playing their own game. I don't think that there's very many people that are actually playing the same game in this hobby. We've all got weird, crazy, custom versions in one form or another, whether we even realize it or not. That's part of what makes it so awesome. Okay, so a slagler. At a glance, the slagler looks like nothing more than a very fast snake. But careful observers may notice the snake is not only fast, but every creature around it is slowed to a stop. In fact, anyone close enough to hear the creature's rattle may find themselves stuck, struck completely still. But it's not only the effect of the sound on a target. Oh, now how do I want to say it? Uniquely, the sound waves themselves seem to create a bubble of slowed time around even with earplugs in, this can make catching a slagler particularly tricky. Then how would you safely keep one of these? It would have to be some sort of a soundproof, like aquarium. Or maybe something else. Oh, you mean the name's growing on you? Me too. Yeah, soundproof terrarium with like a I'm trying to think if there's like, okay, what's like the cleverest way? Because like on the one hand, you know, it needs to be secure because if you know about this creature, you would know of safe ways to secure it. And if you, but also somehow it's out. Glass box with lots of cushion on one side. Yeah. Or maybe it's also amphibious. Maybe it's just literally needs to be put back in the water, right? Maybe the water itself is enough to dampen it. It doesn't even need to be soundproof. Yeah, I think they would too, Matisse. Like the like even here. Hey, Simtar, how's it going? Yeah, I think there would be sort of like a hamster cage set of tubes for the feral echo to flow through. Yeah, I think as long as it's wet. I think it's effectively a tank of water, I guess, right? Water makes sound waves faster, but it's harder to transfer between. Right. Yes. And that could be something too. It's not exactly, it's not the it's not being in water, it's not being wet, it's the layering, or not the layering, but it's that the sound won't leave. You know, if you go underwater, it's going to muffle any sound outside of the water, and if you go above water, it's the same thing coming through. Like either way, we're dramatically reducing the sound. So that layering could be interesting. Hey, Maki. But the simplest answer is that they have a large fish tank that that has been toppled over. It doesn't have to be broken. It's missing. It's lacking water. Yeah, water layer, or even just something I was thinking about. Like, what about like a little, almost like a man-made waterfall, right? But like that's not the same thing. I'm thinking just like a simple. Inside the cottage, but yes. Yep. You could feel it, right? More and more, I'm going to be making this thing. Be making this cottage. Yes. So the and I'm not sure exactly how to reveal this necessarily. This might just be kind of one of those like a bit of information that could be unveiled or could still be kind of narratively it's sound, but I'm not sure that it'll be made clear to the players necessarily. I just haven't figured out how. The staircase that eats you and then deposits you into the secret cellar is a bit of a guard dog in that it's intended to keep that space secret from anybody that doesn't belong. And when Violet shows up to go after, like, part of that like guard dogging is like, no, you don't go there, right? Like the whole premise of the research of the parent has been to keep Violet from these dangerous excursions being slingshotted out into various unknown locations. So what happened before the party got there was Violet basically had to fight the staircase to get downstairs, which is what wrecked the room. That's the reason for it. Now, I think one way of pulling that out could be one of these creatures that I think can do some like basic like parrot-like talking. Oh, Zealot, that's your fountain, right? That you just posted in the stream chat. That looks good. It's coming along. Yeah, I think that's fair, right? I think that's fair. It is certainly, yeah. Well, in this case, it wouldn't even necessarily be, I don't think it would be a D8 even. Maybe it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's only up to 6 because the 7 and 8, the other two creatures are either, the monster staircase is resting until as we lead into part 3, and the goo is downstairs. So it's really only a D6. And they could, I think that's what you're saying is the best way, because we couldn't, to me, this is how you have a variable difficulty adventure, because there are 6 creatures. If you've got a full party of 5 or 6 people, unleash all of them. Heck, have 2 of each, right? Like, have it be chaos. But if it's only like 2 or 3 new players, level 2, yeah, pick a couple of them and have the others just be there, to be observed. I think that'd be totally fine. I think that becomes a before you run this. Mm-hmm. Right. Contained and released, yeah. Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, really, this is just to sort of cook the concept, and then it becomes, I think, stat block and how you run the creature, because the stat block, well, maybe the stat block would be unique to this situation, but anyway, yeah. So yes, I think we've got that. Luckily, the sound and the effect of the sound waves themselves is hampered by water. We could dream up more, but I don't think that there's much utility to that. We could. No doubt we could. Maybe we should, but right now, don't need to. Got just a few more. Next to the sound waves, it's hampered by water. How about Well, we've already done pilfers. So we have a spore/poison creature, an elementally infused creature, and the talking, flying, fishy creature. Elementally infused creature was found in the mountains. So that could be interesting. Something cold, something frozen, something very old. Yeah, talking. Okay, let's figure this crazy idea out. Well, you've nailed one of the inspirations. So, see a zealot, good luck. This creature, basically the talking, the most important thing here is the kind of the parrot nature of the creature. Because we want something that we can't run an investigation like this with nothing to communicate to the party through. Now we might be limited because something that can talk like a parrot squawks and maybe know better is going to be limited. It's going to only have certain bits of information. It's going to be able to only answer certain types of questions, right? It's a creature. What do you want from it? A parrot trout. Why brainstorm any further? Print it, deliver it, good to go. Now we want really all that matters is this thing is attached to the coastline. So certainly anything that is, sea, ocean. We've got kind of wetlands already. We've also got like sand, sand and rocks. Certainly could have something flying, but that tends to be, so maybe it's a lot like a parrot except for one really strange thing about it. Absolutely do a crab. Be a talking crab. I pinch. That would be fun. Like a king crab. Could also be like a snail. This one is the loosest because really maybe we transfer because the sound waves and the sound stuff kind of this could just also be fun to run, I think. So what if it's maybe it's telepathy. So dumb. The Bebbler. I don't think I have anything else on this list that could mess with something telepathic. Then it must be an octopus. Yeah. Probably should. I've got spores and poison, infusion. A telepathic octopus. I mean, who wouldn't want that, right? It blows bubbles that make words. Yeah, to some extent, right? It's like, why did it draw? Now, granted, obviously, talking animals are always gonna telepathic animals. I wonder why it would draw attention, or why it would what makes it a particularly interesting, curious creature. I'm trying to think about like survival on the coastline, or like things that can be, you know, telepathy makes me think of like illusion stuff. You know, maybe I'm thinking of something like what do you call it? Like a defense mechanism that it always looks like it's something else. But we've already got transforming stuff in other things, so I'm not sure. You know, like Clayface. I think they do that illusion at one point. Displacer octopus could be. Yeah, warning. Oh, a warning. Maybe it knows. Uses its tentacles to create snail, steals hats. Yeah, I like all of that. Like a hermit crab. Definitely living inside other stuff. This may be a dumb idea and also difficult to run, which means I want to try it, but I'm not sure I would inflict it on other people. Trying to imagine what it would be like to have a conversation with a creature that does see the future but can only see the future. You know? Because to a certain extent, that removes the ability of this creature to really help with anything but what is going on now. It can't just like fill in the party about stuff that happened in the past. But it can speak very clearly about future questions. That'd be weird. I think that'd be too weird. It's an interesting idea, though. Hey, Joe the King. Sci-fi or fantasy? We're always sort of in between, but largely fantasy. That's kind of where we are. Doesn't mean that we couldn't do stuff like that, but right. it may be more work than it's worth. Like, I like the idea, and now it makes me think I want to try to fit something like that in my campaign, but I wouldn't want to inflict that on anybody but myself to try to sort out. But it's a fun idea. Yeah, I think so too. It's an idea that we could write a scene with, but as soon as a player starts asking questions of it, it gets maybe something psychic. Is that because of the psychic tentacles? Is there a hey Joe, I can no, but I can help a little bit, because actually, so this is a one shot that I'm creating to release at some point. It's tied to some terrain stuff that I've done, and some sculpting and some monster design work. And it's aiming to be something that you can play as a one-shot for like somebody, a group in like the level 1 to 3, somewhere in there, or like as a drop-in adventure early in a campaign. So really, this is all to be like dropped into somebody else's as an overview. And this is good practice because I haven't read through this today yet. In this adventure, your players will take on a bounty searching for a missing family of researchers, fight off a cottage full of curious creatures, and return them to their cages. That's what we're kind of talking about right now. Piece together the events that led to each member of the family disappearing, find a hidden room beneath the home only accessible after being eaten by a monster, locate a substance that can teleport the party one way to far-flung corners of the planet, and ultimately confirm the missing family members to have traveled to the Feywild, where the players can follow. So that's like a quick encapsulation of what, obviously that's missing all of the flavor and all of the how and all of the interesting little nuggets within the adventure. Matisse maybe has the same origin as Mind Flayer's alien but less sophisticated, intelligent. So what about, hold on, let me get back to, oh, Joe, you have to be more specific than that. I don't have a, I don't know that I have an overall favorite. I think the most favorite movies I have kind of fall into time travel stories. So like Back to the Future has been a favorite for a really long time, but I also really like more esoteric stuff. There's a movie called Primer, which almost nobody has seen, which is, I think, an excellent time travel story. I'm one of a handful of people that really likes Tenet. I think it's kind of genius. But I like lots of other stuff too. That's just probably I have a high number of time travel-ish type of stories in my favorites list. Interstellar for sure. Eternal Sunshine, I love that movie. It's not timey-wimey, but it is playing with perception and kind of dream logic. Kind of like Inception. I like that too. Let's see here. What was I saying? What was I getting to? Psychic octopus. So we're already off to a good start. That needs a that can communicate through anyone its tentacles are wrapped around. So effectively like this would be an octopus that would be like, how did it get out again? Like, it's on the ceiling, why is it reaching for us? Like, go put it back. Because just wrapping around, it would then be like feeding information to that player, right? So it can communicate, but it has to have It can't verbally do it. It can't even necessarily do it truly psychically. It's almost like it's like, the physical connection piece that would have to be something. Comprehends all languages? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe it's fairly limited. Yeah, it could actually even be like it could actually be because again, I like the idea that these are creatures that would potentially be overlooked or difficult in some way, and it's like, what if you actually have to? The communication is it's a type of attack almost. Like it's almost it's causing you harm. You can only talk to it so much. This is also a really good limiting factor for the one shot. You can ask it some questions, but how much can we really do, right? We've got to like pick our questions carefully because it's going to actually hurt the party to talk to it. Yeah, it's like an overload, right? It's a communication attack. Yeah. So it's not, I mean, I'm not even sure that it needs to be more than like detached writhing tentacles are weirder than actually having them attached to a creature. You know what I mean? Like that idea of like, okay, let one of the things attack you so that we could get it to answer a question. Like that would be such a wild thing. Maybe it can share memories of the ones it was linked to by its ink drinking it or something. Ugh. Maybe. I think I like a detached set of I like a detached set of tentacles better than a talking like octopus. It's just so weird. It's also, maybe it's a little too snake-like, which we already have a snake. What about having it attached to two persons at the same time? Yeah, I could probably share a lot more information. Maybe it doesn't even need to be... Yeah, I guess as much as I like... I don't really want to have something that's so snake-like, you know, and an octopus is nice because you say it and everybody visualizes it, and it also can move itself around a lot. Has more personality than just a tentacle. Okay. You win, Matisse. I think you win. Although it's going to need it's going to need a better name than that. And Toctopus, well, maybe actually, this rare species of octopus, conveys more with its stinging Stinging tentacles, then a sharp bit of damage. It also seems to overload. It also seems to connect to the target's nervous system and share its thoughts. The family has, or this would be Charlotte has nicknamed the creature Talktopus in her notes. That's fair. Because what do you call it? This creature could be completely unique, or it could be like a conveyor. It's unclear whether the creature itself has this ability or it's infected by or if it's only a host to a some sort of infection. Just be sure to stock up on health potions before sitting down for a conversation with it. Okay, that's fine for now. The talked with was collected somewhere along the coast. I think it would be, I mean, it could be, yeah, that's stat block stuff. I think it would probably be a combination of psychic and probably like almost some sort of like force damage or something like that. Or like electric. That's not a type of damage. Now we're talking Pokemon styles, but you know. Like a shock, I think. Somewhere along the coast. Thunder, probably, or lightning. I like it. Psychic Octopus, Slagler, a Pilfer. That leaves 2. A Spore / poison, poisonous creature. An elementally infused creature. So the poisonous creature was found in the desert, so scorpion type of vibes maybe. Whereas the elemental infusion was found in the mountains. So I'm thinking like, you know, lack of oxygen, heights, you know, probably cold, snow, maybe even like fossils, really old, you know, it's old earth, kind of like it's not a poison snake. They're all snakes. It's oops all snakes. Certainly any sort of kind of rock-like creature, like maybe it's a maybe like the elemental infusion, maybe it changes seasonally. Maybe that's the tricky thing about cultivating a habitat for this thing, is that it's going to transition from a you know, a rock slab, but then it can actually flow like water down the river, or it'll freeze. Like you know, just how often and in what patterns, right? Like it kind of has, you know, it's not quite an elemental because it shifts from one to the other. What is that about? Scarabs in the desert. Oh, a horde. Elemental flubber. Yeah. I mean, we've already got some goo, so maybe not exactly, but scarabs. Well, not only scarabs, bugs, but like a horde. That would really flesh out this combat when we think about, like, okay, there's going to be a huge fog. There's going to be this creature potentially slowing and freezing people with its rattle. There's going to be somebody coming through with big gangly arms, pickpocketing everybody. Why not add a swarm of bugs into it? I guess it's a swarm more than a horde. A horde of scarabs. Well, it's what can we do with a swarm? What can we do with a swarm of poison, or a poisonous type of bug? They can, yes. They are terrible. Earth, air, fire, water ball combo. I have not seen The Last Airbender, so I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't technically have a reference point for that, unfortunately. I'm so sorry. Okay. Maybe they multiply by, oh, maybe it's like a you're suggesting a swarm of scarabs that acts more like the Hydra from Greek mythology, where when you destroy them, you create more of them. I love this idea. I am gonna go refresh my mug, and I'll be right back, and we'll punch out the details on these two. And I'm just gonna think about that horror that you've cooked up, Matisse. Be right back. Okay, coffee and a couple of yogurt covered pretzels because it's just too damn good. You know, there are certain snacks that are just too dangerous for me to have around me when I'm working. So they're upstairs. It's like, yep, I'll take a couple of those on the way through. Okay, run away, get away. So here's the Oreos. That Oreos, yes, if it's the what are the yellow ones? Like the lemon, yeah. Okay. So what if it's a poisonous swarm of large beetles? What if, I know, right? It's like just give me the whole sleeve. Is that the name for like one row? Because it's toast, it's gone. I can knock that out in no time. That's why I can't have it around me. Okay. Poisonous swarm of large beetles. We can call them scarabs if they're from the desert. That's fine. When they take damage, they multiply. But they are drawn to, there has to be like maybe like a light source, maybe like a gemstone, maybe that they're drawn to. Hey, Construct, how's it going? How are you, Construct? How's life? Well, I was thinking that there would be... Excuse me. Drawn to sneezing. Well, I appreciate that, Construct. Thanks for showing your support. And everybody else who wants to show their support can do so by getting themselves a brick on the table, or... I'm not going to do a plug, but I did kind of just now. Oh, Construct, I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry, friend. What's the brickwork sorcerer? What is that? What does that mean? Like I should make that? Even actually, I don't know if you can tell. I don't know if it's obvious from but we have more painted than ever before. Getting very exciting. And I noticed last night that there are quite a few that are just about to get that next level. So psyched. So I was thinking of there's what if they're, or maybe they're just attracted to gold? Is that simple enough? Or maybe silver? Like there's going to be gold is probably better. You know, it could be something more like a ruby or a gemstone, like something that's extra valuable, but for whatever reason they just sort of, it's like a what do you call it? Bugs are drawn, a bug zapper. Oh man, I love this. Dutch term translates to noble metals. Is that what you're saying? So edel, so effectively noble metals. So noble metals, metallic elements that are usually resistant to corrosion. I feel like gemstones would probably be more interesting. Like the tricky thing about a creature like this is sort of lamp shading how to deal with them, because if you just provide a multiplying swarm, right, that just was just going to get larger as you fight it, it could be a negative, it could be a bad spiral, a bad gameplay spiral. However, in the context of this room that the players are going to be encountering all these creatures, I think where the combat begins, I think I had written that something would slither up and wrap around. I think it's the octopus, the talktopus, that probably slithers up and grabs onto somebody and does shock them. But while doing so, they hear, like, you got to get these animals back in their cages, right? Like, now we have a creature that's like, this is insanity, you know. Imagine having to decide to use your, well, and it could be like, well, how did they get out? Like, there's probably a large chest, or maybe it's a, you know, a wardrobe or something that they were contained within, but like something knocked, like there's like a gemstone or a couple of them that have been knocked away somewhere, and if you just take it, throw it back in, they all swarm in and you shut the door, right? Something like that. This is one of those that I'd be comfortable with there being explicit instructions. I think they just are drawn to it uncontrollably. Like, what it does is concentrate them in a location. You shut the chest. At least they're contained. But the reason for having them is that, and this would be interesting for the party, especially when it comes to communicating, like if you can manipulate the beetles. I like the idea that not only is it like a swarm of poison, like a poisonous cloud when they're scattered, when they're attacking, but them leaving and being contained, it has a healing, it almost draws the poison out of you. Maybe it has some sort of buff effect when they leave, like they're filling the space, like the area of effect is a poison cloud, but as they pull it away, the poison is not the only thing that they take. It almost like soaks up, you know, maybe it can cure disease, maybe it you know, that's the reason that they don't just destroy these things, because there's something about them that's worth understanding. And maybe they do actually consume the gemstones over time. Maybe they are expensive in that way. So you do have to replenish it, but maybe it takes a really long time. Maybe it's fairly efficient. I like healing poisonous beetles is a fun concept. So we probably can't use greebles. Isn't that yeah, a greeble is it adds detail to models. Have you heard that term before? It's a model making term. Maybe that's why I know it. A greeble, but a greedy beetle. A greedle. Do I need a name? I mean, I always need names. Who doesn't need names? I don't need a name. I need a great name. Now, hold on. I feel like you're revisiting a well here. The same person giving them names. I feel like there's a joke about that, right? Where it's like Garden of Eden style, where it's like, okay, I'm out of, what do we want to call this? Yeah, that's at a certain point they're all seals. Like I don't have any more names for these things. Yeah, I mean that could be. I'm okay with them being cutesy names. I think there's even a version of these kind of creature breakdowns in background that feels a little bit like a research journal. Like it'd be kind of fun to have that style, even if just for in terms of presentation. But obviously, like making a prop for all this stuff would be super cool too. Like that'd be a fun. I'm not looking to add more work to my plate, but it'd be fun to use these, you know, to use all this lore in a fun way. What's up, Twin Steel? Okay, how about we use the concept of they are both poisonous and healing, right? They're sort of two-faced. It's that yin yang. They're like, you know, they're like opposite. You know, it's like they're like a blessing and a curse, or like, you know, it's like that idea of taking like poison with your medicine. You know, bitter. Yeah, as long as I mean, they do seem to consume them, like I said, slowly over time, so they're not free. Like, I mean, you do have to sacrifice some precious gemstones. Exactly. And maybe that, and the trade-off could be very similar to a healing type of thing, where it's like, yeah, this swarm will heal you as we draw them away with this gemstone, but the more healing they do, the more they're going to eat this gemstone for whatever reason. We don't understand it. Like there's something going on. Bleeding. Oh, okay, so I like bleeding because that makes it feel, doesn't it feel like an old school, like a medieval medicine technique of like leeches and stuff like that, where it's like bleeding you, like drawing something out of you. A vial of Scrabbler essence. Yeah, like you're gonna be poisoned for a period of time, and then as the poison leaves you, you're healed. Like that's cool. That's a neat idea. So do I need another section for like magic items created from these creatures? Why not? I mean, that'd be cool to find at some point. That'd be cool to find sort of the shoot, maybe I do want to have a list like that. Use this vial with a diamond or engineered and it heals without it poisons. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Or like it's you know, it's contained. Like another way of doing what you're talking about is like you take the vial of seemingly poison, but then you have to like be gripping some sort of precious stone, and as it sort of disintegrates in your hand, it's you know, you're also being healed, right? I'm not sure about the name. Hey Noel, how's it going? Hope you are doing well. What's a good? Are they like the size of $50? Scarabs are pretty large, right? Oarfish. Hey Gibson, how's it going? Hemo scrabs. Sounds like it would be, yeah. I don't know though. I can check. Hemocraft is a type of magic that uses blood to manipulate life force. Looks like it came from Critical Role. Quiet Twin. I did put stairs in the thumbnail just to check that box, right? So the medical procedure from like the Middle Ages was called bloodletting. That was maybe not Middle Ages exactly, but it's definitely like a redundant, like it's not done anymore, but it does date way back. And I think that's the bloodletting is where like leeches were used. I'm thinking of like, you know, I can't pull the name of the show out of my head, but pre-modern is the right way to hemofissure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think greedy beetles will last, but these half-hour size beetles act as a swarm, carry a poisonous cloud anywhere they go. They will also duplicate and grow larger when attacked. Luckily, they have a simple weakness? Scarabs, bugs, yeah, a whole bunch of. Drawn to them in the stones themselves. Slowly eat them over time. Do they have a maximum size? That's a good question. And I don't know. To figure out which of my phones is doing that. Must have been that one. Oh, so sometimes you still do that to it. That's interesting. Seriously flying oarfish, a wise sea monster. Bleedlers. When they go from an attack from a Okay. Something like that. Unfortunately, that is where I'm gonna have to call it. Oh, you were on the fish part. Okay, that makes sense. I was wondering. Gibson. I was wondering. I was like, oh, that. So I wasn't we weren't ignoring you. We missed each other in time. That's all. You were traveling back, and we were all still up here. Glad it worked out. Twin, you made a monster called Fleabots, defunct phlebotomy automatons that would attack and draw blood since they're old and malfunctioning. Well, that's pretty cool. Those would be very, very tiny little Fleabots. Would be perfect for the miniatures from last night for CL99 and oh gosh, what do we call them? It was so late. I'm glad I wrote it down. CL99 and Miles, because making creatures like that, really like small tiny creatures, that'd be kind of like clockwork. That would make sense. Okay, well, good. This is awesome. Clearly I need I think yeah, this sort of work is gonna be a daily afternoon thing, since I'm trying to maintain some variety to the stream this month. This may be the constant in the afternoon, maybe some evenings as well if there's a bunch I want to work through. But I'm also I am gonna step back into some crafting streams, not tonight but probably tomorrow night. I've been talking here and there about what. You guys just have to find out. It's going to be the first time I've ever made this on stream. Check out Clockwork Horrors in MM2 or 3. Nice. Yeah, I have a bunch of Clockwork stuff in my backlog. Yeah, cool, Matisse. See ya. Yeah, see you, Noel. I'll be back on in a few hours tonight playing some sort of game. I'm not sure what, but then I'll be back on this weekend, obviously, also. Thanks, Gibson. Yeah, it's an experiment, but I think it's better. That's right. I've never made escalators on stream, so technically that's as true as anything. All right. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you, and have a great night if I don't see you later. Yeah, this was fun. Later, Gator, indeed. Get rid of that. Move this. Those. It's always such a test. It's always such a blind. Can I hit it? Hey, you know what? That's not bad. I'll take it. I can move some critters out of the way. Awesome. See you guys next time.